Now, it's been a while since I made a SkyrimVR video. In fact, the last one I posted was back in May of 2022, and that video got demonetized because I said my favorite word, which is home to the Australians. At least I like to say that. It's Anyway, what better way to kick off this year by going back to my roots and giving you all my top 10 SkyrimVR mods for 2023. I do want to point out that it is my top 10, and these top 10 mods are all in my mod list and will forever be in my mod list. I can't deny them, I'm just saying. This top 10 is in no particular order, and it can still consist of mods that were originally intended for Skyrim Special Edition. I'll give you a brief overview of the mod, with no installations and prereqs being mentioned, so make sure you read those mod requirements and instructions if you download any of the mods.
What up? I'm Jared, I'm 19, and I never learned how to read.
No, let's go. Now, the first thing I'm going to hit you with 5 in one go. Pentagon, pentakill, something, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, while simultaneously cock-teasing you and telling you that I'm going to consider it one slot in my top 10. Honestly, I could make this video 10 times easier and just separate them all, but I'm not going to because it all deserves to be in one slot because they all add too much that makes a dog shit ported VR title to a real VR title. It's a real shame that modders have to fix their game, but that will forever be said. Poor Bethesda. Anyway, VRIK gives the ability to see your full body and not the floating Mario Master Hands shit from Super Mario Brothers or Super Smash Brothers, whatever. I don't remember. Been a long time. VRIK also gives you the ability to holster weapons in any fashion you want, along with gestures to minimize the interactions with your menus. Pairing this with the Werewolf and Vampire Lord body extensions makes it an all-rounder, and it's quite poggies. The second of 5, HIGGS, which, if I remember correctly, stands for Hand Interactions and Gravity Gloves. It adds the most needed fixes and mechanics for SkyrimVR. It adds hand and weapon collisions, the ability to two-hand anything, which, you know, should have been there to begin with, especially for two-handed weapons. Anyway, it also allows you to grab objects with the ability to flick objects to you like good old Half-Life Alyx. You can move bodies, loot armor off of bodies, and a bunch of other shit that Bethesda built to implement, which is nothing new. 3 of 5, PLANCK, Physical Animation and Character Kinetics, which is PLANCK for short. It adds physics to the characters around you. There's also hit detections, revamped weapon swings, power attacks, bashing, along with aggression. So, if you bug someone enough, they'll scold you about the Cloud District, then call the cops. Nazim deserves to get cut, damn it. I don't care. The second to the last of Pentagang of Gang Cuckage is magic improvements for SkyrimVR, or MissVR. MissVR revamps magic casting for VR in the best way possible. It greatly improves dual casting and its visuals. Depending on your magicka, the scale of the spell can change in your hand. The aiming is 10 times better, the way it should be, honestly, because normally you would aim with your offhand only and not with both hands. I don't know, it was a very poor decision that Bethesda never fixed. The aiming is 10 times better the way it should be with this, along with other miscellaneous magical improvement fixes that MissVR fixes. The last of the casting couch is simple, realistic archery VR. It simply just makes archery more realistic. Let me break it down in caveman terms. When arrow shot, arrow gone. Must grab arrow from back. Shoot arrow again. Repeat. You can configure where it's at and what arrows go to what binding. You can have orcish arrows to a specific binding or iron arrows to another binding, if you really wanted to. Now, this next one should be up above with the other 5 that I mentioned, but honestly, it still deserves its own spot. I mean, the rest do too, but this one just does a little bit more for other mods, and it's really great. Spell Wheel VR. It's pretty self-explanatory. It adds selection wheels that allows you to pick out spells, weapons, shields, potions, and among other things, even modded stuff. Honestly, fuck menus, use wheels. It also gives you the ability to add wrist bars, so you could keep an eye on your health, stamina, and magicka. It's also compatible with needs mods, so you could add wrist bars for your needs of your hunger, your thirst, your cold, whichever. You can really be like that local emo kid. I don't know. It's completely customizable, and you really should have this mod. It's honestly a necessity for me, especially for the next mod, because it requires this. Immersion and fantasy is the main thing I play Skyrim for, and what better way to add more immersion than to add degradation for weapons and armor for everything and everyone. That's all configurable in the INI. It's so goddamn lightweight that it's just an SKSE plugin, and holy hell, that Shizoff is a genius. The mod's called Durability VR. Over time, items will degrade, you can repair them, and since the previous mod is required, you can keep an eye on your degradation on your wrists. It also prevents players that would normally not have the requirement to wield a high quality weapon and armor to exploit those high quality armaments. So basically, if you are a level 1 and you have a Daedric sword, that Daedric Sword will break quicker than shit. Honestly, Durability VR adds so much fucking immersion that it's needed in my list, and I'm glad that the genius made this. Since we're on the topic of it and on the chain of mods that require each other, Immersive Smithing is next. This is by far one of the most peak immersive mods for VR to date, other than the first 5 that I mentioned. It's actually nuts. Instead of just always using the menus to craft and temper your gear, you can do it your goddamn self. You still have to craft your weapons, but you can improve your weapons and armor with your own 2 hands, and it scales with your smithing level. You simply need a blacksmith's hammer, which you craft with iron ingot and a firewood, and you just have to be near a forge, or a knife by a tanning rack, or simply dropping ore into a smelter. Spellwheel VR being a requirement is a solid immersive addition in my honest opinion. Combining this with Durability VR gets you that immersive experience that you crave, honestly, well, at least that I crave. If you're an immersive freak like me, then you'll want this. And you can also pair it with realistic mining, among other things, for more peak immersion to get, well, that peak blacksmith immersion. You could become Andre the Blacksmith from Dark Souls if you wanted to, you know? I don't know. Now, how about some combat? I mentioned this many times before, but this is still the best out there, in my honest opinion, and that's Blade and Blunt. It is one of my favorite combat mods because you have to be wary of the resources at your disposal, and it's completely aware and takes account of your resistances, armor, speed, reach, and more. You can also parry with Blade and Blunt. It's a complete overhaul that makes Skyrim's dated combat breathe with some fresh air while keeping Skyrim's combat. P.S. Pairing this with the next mod, Know Your Enemy, is a real combat enhancer. It uses a system that recognizes the traits of each armor and enemy. The more knowledge you have about the resistances and weaknesses about your enemies and armors, the more of an advantage you have. Knowledge! This also applies to the types of weapons used along with poison and diseases, examples being the undead. The undead are immune to poisons and disease, they're resistant to shock and bladed weapons, blunt weapons, and arrows, yet weak to axes. If you're fighting someone with leather, they're resistant to fire, but very weak to arrows. Now, to enhance the spell sword gameplay, SpellSiphon with Conduit is by far the best way to do it. There are 2 different mods, but I don't give a rat's ass. It's taking 1 spot on my list. Again, SpellSiphon enables combos and the ability to fight at 0 magicka, keeping the battle going as a mage. It uses different types of spells while still allowing you to grow with the power by using your own skill. You no longer need to pause your game just to switch spells. SpellSiphon adds so much to the game that I cannot go through it all. Like, there's so much to cover with SpellSiphon, so if you want a deep dive, let me know, and I'll try my best. Now, with Conduit, it allows you to conduct spells to a weapon of choice simply by grabbing the weapon with a spell in your offhand with the use of HIGGS. It can overlay with enchantments and can be used with any weapon. If you're using Weapon Throw VR, you can use special abilities that was given through each element. Now, if only there was a way you could do a Sharknado. You could do something using Bruce Lee's flow like water jutsu. Stupid joke. Here's some survival stuff. Now, I'm a big immersion nerd. I just want to point that out there. Campfire is a standalone camping mod with the original intention of being used with Frostfall. You can build a campfire, set up tents for either rain or snow. You can buy camping equipment, search for resources, and advance skills through skill trees through a created campfire. Now, instead of using Frostfall, pairing it with Sunhelm, an all-in-one survival and needs mod, it can really boost your immersion. It tracks your hunger, thirst, fatigue, and optionally hypothermia, which Frostfall was primarily hypothermia. This is an all-in-one. And Sunhelm also includes the seasons, and allows overhauled diseases, and an optional campfire skill tree. It's completely customizable with support for Team Edwards and Team Jacobs, and with Spellwheel VR. It can track your needs on your wrist bars. It's an amazing addition for a VR playthrough with peak immersion. Now, the last mod is Immersive Death. It's a death overhaul to add a better roleplay experience with the ability to have permadeath, if you're interested in that. When you're heavily wounded, you may choose to sneak away, items may slip from your body and hide away in horse shit, or can be taken away from your killer. I just like this more because I hate being in a loop and it still has consequences for, you know, if you're being dog shit at the game. Yeah, it's very lightweight too. It's kind of nice. Now that's it for the top 10, but I have some bonus mods for you. First one being Seasons of Skyrim and Turn of the Seasons, along with all of the other additional stuff for these 2 mods together, because there's so much stuff that can utilize Seasons of Skyrim and Turn of the Seasons. These tie really well with Sunhelm and Campfire, giving the world of Skyrim the true atmosphere of having seasons, because seasons don't exist, really. They do, but they don't. It's weird. Seasons of Skyrim is an SKSE framework that changes the season depending on the months of the game. Duh. And it recognizes the 4 seasons: winter, spring, summer, and fall, or autumn, whichever you want to call that shit. It changes the models, terrain, and LOD while also having snow coverage. Turn of the Seasons utilizes the seasons of Skyrim to distinctly add visual changes to the 4 seasons. Honestly, I don't know if I can put this off my list anymore. I just love immersion, and this honestly adds that immersion. Basically, winter is winter by having snow all over the ground, even in Whiterun, where Whiterun never had snow before. Or the Rift. The Rift could have dead aspen trees. I don't know. I just have to have Turn of the Seasons now. It's honestly an essential to me. Now, another little bonus is any armor mod from 4th Unknown. Now, I don't know. I'm kind of biased, but honestly, 4th Unknown's armors is just immaculate. They are just fucking awesome. Now, 4th Unknown has made mods for creatures as well, but his armors are just gorgeous. They're stunning and high resolution. These armors include a redesign of the Dark Brotherhood armor, which I've covered before in the Thief episode, a redesign for the Daedric armor, a new heavy armor and 2H with the Windrul's armor, a new light armor and a sword with the Falconeer armor, a new heavy armor and 2-handed axe with Northern God armor, which reminds me of Dark Souls. Actually, they all kind of remind me of Dark Souls, I'm not gonna lie. A new female light armor and sword with the 3-eyed Swallow armor, a new heavy Dremora Marquinaz armor and a new Dwemer set, as well as a silver armor set. And they all make me want to come. They're just all stunning, and there's also SMP physics stuff if you really like physics with like the capes and stuff, which I have because I can. They were removed from the Nexus for a while because of the Ukraine and Russia stuff going on, because 4th Unknown is located in Russia, but they're back now, and yeah, they're fucking gorgeous. Honestly, if you don't cop these, I'm sad. Cop these armors and kill your enemies in style. Now, I hope your experience can be adjusted dramatically with these mods. Let me know in the comments what you took from this video. I'm curious to know, actually, because, well, my top 10 is different from others' top 10s. So, just general curiosity. And if you have a different set of top 10 mods, let me know in the comments. I'm curious to know what your top 10 mods are. Be sure to endorse these mods you've downloaded to support the creators and encourage them to do more, or to just give them pride. At least I hope they get pride. All the links for these mods will be in the description as always, as well as the link tree for my socials if you're interested in that shit. There's a Discord if you want to chat with me and my fellow souls, and if you liked any of the mods or found this helpful, be sure to like the video. It really helps with the algorithm, and I'm not sure if this is the return of SkyrimVR content, but we'll see. If you're interested in other VR content as well as other hilarity, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to get notified of those future videos. Now, one last thing is to keep your soul free.